Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me okay? All right. I'm Tim Haab. I'm the director of the School of Environment and Natural Resources here at Ohio State. Want to quickly just welcome everyone, including our newcomers and our regulars, to the Environmental Professionals Network. We call it EPN here in SENR. EPN is a service of Ohio State University intended to provide continuing education and networking services to environmental professionals across Ohio, such as through their monthly programming and online directories. It's great to see everybody here today and to see the interactions occurring among our environmental, natural resource, and sustainability professionals, students, and so many different fellow residents of our community. Each June and July, EPN holds a field trip to showcase Ohio's premier initiatives in environmental and sustainability practices and connect environmental professionals. Today's program is meant to do exactly that. We intend to help connect educators and environmental professionals to inspire new environmental learning experiences for as many Ohio students as possible. We'd like to take a moment to thank one of our long-term partners, the Environmental Education Council of Ohio, referred to as EECO, and their executive director, Brenda Metcalf, for their support. For nearly a decade, EPN's partnered with EECO, as well as the Ohio EPA Office of Environmental Education, on the Environmental Career Ambassadors Program. In short, the goal of this partnership is to get more Ohio students interested in environmental and nature-based careers by connecting students with environmental professionals. We're excited to continue this mission together right here at today's event. On your tables, you'll find a brochure with today's program in it. You can scan the QR code around the room or reference the paper brochures to see the rest of today's agenda and this afternoon's activities. You'll see information about the tour and biographies, for each of our speakers. If I keep stumbling over my words today, I just got back from a trip of a lifetime to Alaska for 2 weeks. And I think I'm still in the middle of the night somewhere or something. I don't. So. On behalf of EPN, I'd like to thank our annual sponsors. Our sponsors are what make this program possible, allowing us to more effectively connect environmental professionals and educators with excellent resources. We give special thanks to NG North America, the Ohio State Energy Partners, the OSU Sustainability Institute, and Facilities Operations and Development, Ohio EPA, and Ohio's Division of Wildlife for their annual sponsorships. We couldn't do this without you. We're also proud and very grateful to share that the EPN has been awarded funding from the Ohio EPA Office of Environmental Education. The funding not only contributed to many of the activities at the event today, including travel reimbursements for all the teachers in attendance today, but also will support the EPN's upcoming redevelopment of their online networking platform. Coming soon, you'll be able to use the EPN site to connect with environmental professionals based on several important factors, including where they work and what they work on. We're excited to share more details soon. Fall's already around the corner. I know for all the teachers in the room, you might be a little sad to hear that. But I'd like to take a moment to share the next EPN event with you all. This will be the first of our fall series. On Friday, September 26th, we'll meet at the Ohio Union for a breakfast panel of law and policy experts who will translate recent federal and state changes to need-to-know takeaways for environmental professionals. Then in the evening, we'll return to the Union for one of the first U.S. film screenings of How to Poison a Planet, starring Mark Ruffalo and famous Ohio environmental attorney Rob Billett, who was the inspiration behind the film Dark Waters. Rob will be here in Columbus for the screening and will take part in the Q&A session with the audience. Okay. Registration for that will open soon, so keep an eye out for that. And now it's my distinct privilege to introduce our first speaker, Christina Vera. As you can see on the brochure, Christina is a board member for the Columbus Board of Education, the co-founder of Femergy, which is an educational nonprofit that empowers young girls and women, and on theme for today's presentation is a proud alumna of Columbus City Schools. Please join me in welcoming Christina.
Well, good morning and welcome everyone. Let's give a round of applause for all of our staff, our partners, all those amazing people that made today happen. Well, good morning. As you heard, my name is Christina Vera, and I'm a proud Columbus City School alumni and a member of the Columbus Board of Education. And on behalf of my fellow board colleagues today and our amazing superintendent, Dr. Angela Chapman, I am so honored and excited to be here with you all today, being a part of some of just the planning conversations. I know the energy and the thought that came behind wanting to have today, and you all are in for such an amazing treat. A big, big thank you to The Ohio State University and all of the incredible partners who made this experience possible. Today is more than just environmental education. It's about possibilities. The possibility we unlock when educators and environmental professionals come together to inspire real-world learning for our students. As a kid growing up here in Columbus, some of my best summer memories were spent outdoors, bike rides, hikes, family picnics. There's something about being in nature that brings peace and clarity. It's a feeling that I still cherish and now share with my own children. At Columbus City Schools, we're committed to giving every student access to that same feeling through hands-on, place-based learning. We are so fortunate to have Spruce Run Nature Center, 50 acres of woods, trails, wetlands, and learning space right in our district. Every student from elementary through high school is encouraged to experience it. And you, if you have not been there, some of you will be there today, and you'll get to learn more about it. Whether it's bird watching, creeking, gardening, or mapping out ecosystems, these experiences spark curiosity, build skills, and connect students to the world around them in powerful ways. They also offer something just as important: time to move, reflect, and simply be present. I want to take another opportunity to say thank you to Ohio State University. Your partnership through programs like the Urban EcoExplorers program is helping bring that same kind of learning to our middle school students. Students are exploring their own neighborhoods, visiting OSU's world-class wetlands research stations, and meeting real scientists, showing them that environmental science can be a future, not just a field trip. Today's gathering reflects that shared vision and your commitment to expanding opportunities for students. By exchanging ideas and building new partnerships, we're helping ensure environmental literacy is a core part of how we educate and support the whole child. This is what equity looks like: giving all kids access to learning that is rigorous, relevant, and rooted in real world. You all could be anywhere today, especially on a Monday on your summer break, and you're choosing to be here to learn, to connect, and to empower not only yourselves, but in preparation for our students who will be returning very soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your commitment to our students, to this work, and to building a more sustainable and inspired future, one classroom, one community at a time. Enjoy a day of learning. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am so excited to be here. I didn't sleep last night. You know, when you were 7 years old and you were the day before Christmas, you couldn't sleep because you were ready to get up. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. And let me tell you why. Because this conversation joins both of my worlds together. I worked in Columbus City Schools for almost 30 years in a variety of positions, from equity to multicultural director. And as part of that work, at one point we had a charge, and in 1 year we went out and recruited 100 African-American teachers from around the country. It never had been done before. And so I thought I retired and I thought I was done. And then COVID happened. And you know, when COVID happened, you couldn't go to the gym, you couldn't go outside, you could go outside, but you couldn't go any place inside. So I went outside. And then I found Larry Sharon Woods. And then I found Ennis Woods. And then I found Blacklick. And then I found Blendon. And then I found Rocky Ford. And then I think, where all this has been? Why don't I know this? I'm supposed to be educated. I graduated from Northwestern. No side, but I'm thinking, how did all of this exist? And I consider myself an educated and intelligent person, and I didn't know. And someone said, well, Kwesi, they're not in your neighborhood. Well, I said, Easton is not in my neighborhood. I know everything about Easton. Why don't I know? And so I just went on a mission now. I said, I'm going to find out. So the first thing my wife and I did, we started volunteering. And we volunteered at Ennis Woods, and we were called part of the Bucket Brigade. And so we get up, get water in the cans, and we go out and we water plants. And then I said, what else? And then I saw there was a Friends of Metro Park organization. I said, okay, let me see. I'll apply to be part of Friends. And then there was opportunity for me to work with the Metro Park for a while, and we brought in national speakers. And so that was great. And then they said, well, we need officers for Friends. And I said, I'll be officer. So now I'm vice president of Friends. And then I talked to Harrison. They said, well, we need a guest speaker. And now I got the mic. And one of my friends out there, once told me, she says, Kwesi, where did you come from? How all of a sudden did you just happen and you're just here and you're in everything? And I don't know, it's because I just had people who helped me. And one thing I just want to share with you, the whole thing that we're talking about is how we can help educators educate all of our students so that they can have careers in the environment. Now, let me tell you why this is so important. Some of you may know a man called Michael Wilkos. He's United Way vice president. And he says something astounding, two things. One is this area is growing, and you probably have already known this. But he also says in 20 years, the diversity in this Franklin County, it will be majority diverse people. Don't get mad at me. This is what he says. And so if this is true, it is critically important now that we have the conversation about how we can help all kids learn about the environment, all kids learn about these careers so that 20 and 30 years they can be in a leadership role. Now, can this happen? Yes, it can. Jessica, will you stand up? I'm sorry. And not only stand up, come up here. Come up here. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. I tried to warn her before and said, I'm going to call you up here because I want people to see you. Jessica is a graduate of Columbus City Schools, Brookhaven. And when Jessica was in school, and I'm not just going to say, there were some challenges. I'll just say challenges. That's between me and her. You don't need to know what the challenges were. But there were some challenges. But she had a great principal who believed in her and talked with her and got her through this. And now she's going on. Now, tell me your official title.
I'm a special education consultant.
Special education consultant. So here's the thing about, give her a hand. She deserves it. So this special education consultant who went to Columbus schools had some challenges that she would say, but she had this idea. And she said, I just think Columbus and Metro Parks need to have an inclusive playground. So this person went to a board meeting, and there's a board member in the back, and there's the back. She said, I have an idea, y'all. I'm Jessica Bennett. We should have an inclusive playground here. They said, what? Where's that at? Who did? But to their credit, they listened to her, And we have the most amazing inclusive playground, I think, in the state, right here at, at Blendon Woods, because of her and because of Larry. I told you I was going to call you out. But not only did she have the idea, but she had people who believed in her. So I'm sorry, you could have your seat. Give her a hand. And so I just say all that to say, if Jessica can do it, it can be done. And friends, I just am looking so expectantly for what's going to happen as we talk about how we educate our future kids. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right? I'm told I always have the outdoor voice on. I think that's a good thing. So I'm Angie Burke. I'm representing the Nature Conservancy, and I'm here located in Ohio. And it is my absolute privilege and pleasure to be here speaking to all of you today about what it is to unlock the science behind nature, how nature works. So a little bit about the Nature Conservancy, if you're not familiar with who we are or what we do. We're a global environmental nonprofit organization with the mission to conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends and create a world where people and nature thrive. We're in over 70 different countries and territories with over 400 scientists on staff and over 125 million acres conserved worldwide. One of my favorite facts is that back in the early 50s, at a small OSU conference room, the Ecologists Union came together to form the Nature Conservancy. So we have proud roots here in Central Ohio. And so youth engagement is really near and dear to our hearts and to everything that we do. We have some core programs here at the Nature Conservancy around informing, connecting, and elevating the voices, choices, and actions of our young adults and students and youth everywhere. And so through a dynamic youth engagement program across the state, we're able to engage thousands of youth in dynamic and meaningful ways. Our dynamic students need a dynamic community to help their career journeys and their learning. And so I'm really excited to be speaking with everyone today because of Spruce Run Environmental Study Center, the Nature Center there. We got connected up with Spruce Run actually the year that I started at TNC about 8.5 years ago. And it was this beautiful natural area, about 50 acres in size, that had some small developments on there, a classroom, a house that they used for some bird watching, and some really natural trails around the area, a beautiful creek on property. And we just knew that there was something special. They just actually celebrated their 50th anniversary last year, so congratulations to Spruce Run and Columbus City Schools. We were connected there by the educator there was looking to do a BioBlitz, and a BioBlitz is where we all get together and try to document as many plants and wildlife, everything we find in nature, in a 24-hour period. Well, I was invited in as a small mammal biologist because that's what I'm versed in, and so we were there and we connected over little mice. Adorable little Pyramyscus right here on the screen. And so we went to the creek and we explored, and actually at that 24-hour BioBlitz, they had documented a spider that had never been documented in Central Ohio before. So it's really amazing on how you can be brought together around this one idea of let's identify all the cool things we can find. And from there sprouted a beautiful relationship that we've had for about 8 years now. We've been able to support them through community events that they host monthly, helping everyone find where their special places are in nature, as well as field trip support. And we also did some land stewardship and conservation, planting trees on site and thinking about how we manage those natural areas to make sure that they're dynamic for all generations to enjoy. And so one of the things that we do when we are at Spruce Run is we leverage our online curriculum platform called Nature Lab. Nature Lab is the Nature Conservancy's curriculum platform that provides you with modules and dynamic lesson plans, virtual field trips, and the like. So not only does it help you bring nature into the classroom, but it helps you bring the classroom into nature. And the goal of Nature Lab is to really help all students and those educating them experience the wonder of nature and learn about the places and people around the world. Really, how we like to support our communities is through increasing access to nature, decreasing the barriers, and building up the capacity, not only of our educators, of our students, and of our communities. So if we center around those three ABCs, we can really have beautiful pathways and journeys for our youth and our communities. So how is the content organized? You get curriculum, special resources, and seasonal activity guides. And these are all free, don't require an email, and in just 2 clicks of a button, you have the guide in PDF form in front of you. So the curriculum is designed and based off of these age ranges and these groupings, but it'll also give you the associated grade levels. Then we have special resources around climate action and how you can get your students activated around that. Or if you're looking to have a school garden, not just a garden, we know that's a typo up there, and how to build, plan, and care for it. We have seasonal activity guides so you can discover nature and all that it has to offer year-round at home as well. And so these aren't just for formalized school settings. There are over 19 different virtual field trips that help you introduce different concepts to your students and young adults. These are usually the jumping off point where you add in the extra special, right? So we might be going to learn about the Great Salt Lake, and then let's learn about the Great Lakes around us, and then let's go visit a lake nearby. So the opportunities are abound, and these are just a great first place to start. The Youth for Climate Action Toolkit was developed with the Aspen Institute, this is Planet Ed Initiative, to co-produce this toolkit that provides students and educators with strategies and resources to make their local actions scale on that global landscape. Resources for building a garden. Now, all of these resources have some of those age ranges in there and where they were suitable or who was the audience when they were developed. But it does give you a breakdown at the end of how to adapt these resources up or down depending on your audience and what you'd like to do. So from exploring the soil profiles and what makes a healthy garden to just monitoring and enjoying nature and seeing what habitat and pollinators are there. My favorite is this one about how dirt works. It actually involves you getting your hands into the soil and smelling it. And when we were able to do that program with Columbus City School students, I believe it was last year's summer school, it was dynamic to see how liberating it was just to pick up a handful of soil and smell it. It was awesome to see their faces light up and just that small little bit of encouragement going a long way. So the seasonal activities can discover the wonders of nature year-round. This could be going out and exploring animal tracks and how to do that in a fun way. Each guide shares these different ideas of getting outdoors, and I think it's a great resource at home. So when we get into the educator resources, when you're actually on our Nature Lab platform, they're suitable for K through 12 informal and informal education settings. They're focused on environmental science concepts and has those standards based through next generation science standards and Common Core that map very easily to the Ohio State standards. I've done this in a couple of occasions, and it's real easy to see exactly what our students are going to take away from our programs. And so they're based on digital, they're all digital resources for accessibility. One more, there we go. And so it's really about unlocking nature for everyone and everywhere. These resources can be used as a starting off point. But one thing I like to remind everyone is that sometimes it's important to just let the kids be and let the curiosity shine and helping support them on that. And when we're creeking at Spruce Run, that's the one thing that you can really see happen. It could be from the tiniest little mayfly larva to actually finding a frog. Everyone gets excited and on board. The person who was hesitant to take off their shoes and put on the boots now wants to be the first one into the creek and flipping over the rocks to see what they find. So just by allowing them to have a space where they can connect to safely is really going to allow the journey to take that dynamic pathway that may lead them to a really rewarding career. You don't know what's going to spark that light and excitement that helps their learning journey and help it become even more real to see what their future actually holds. And so what's really important is that you can also leverage TNC's expertise beyond just using the Nature Lab platform. You can get connected up with staff members here across Ohio. We have dynamic staff members in everything from public policy to mammal biology to all the things in between. And we'd be happy to do presentations, direct insight into careers, field trips with the Nature Lab, or just exploring nature like that Bio Blitz brought us together with Columbus City Schools Spruce Run. We also have dynamic externships with National Geographic. These are all online for your students to get connected up with a way to enact a local project that's going to make a big difference. And so that's usually for our young adults, 18 to 25, and we give them tools to be able to take that action and enact that program locally. I've been involved with that externship for a couple of years now, and it's global, and it's amazing to see all these students come together. It's updated regularly, and if we're looking always for people to test this curriculum and to give us some feedback on what worked and didn't work, it's a two-way street, and we love it when we can have that open dialogue. Nature Lab is really well connected. It's powered by partnerships, so we do have things on Kahoot. We've partnered with lots of different organizations you see up here on the screen, and there's always new content being released seasonally, so I hope that you check it out. And if you're really looking to get to that Nature Lab real quick, pull up your phone, scan that QR code, and you'll be right at Nature Lab. If not, I'll be around all day and be happy to speak with any of you about how we can really unlock those dynamic learning journeys for our next generation and even unlock nature for all of you in this room here. So thank you very much, and I can't wait to walk the land with you later this afternoon. Have a great one.
Good morning, everyone. So Malyn and I are here to talk a little about a project that's currently in the works. We are still even in the pilot phase, but wanted to talk today and kind of show you the process of what our collaboration looks like, and maybe invite you into what this type of collaboration could look like in the future. So our current project is called Urban EcoExplorers, and it is a partnership between Ohio State, the School of Environment and Natural Resources, and Columbus City Schools. So here's our collaborators. Yeah.
My name is Malyn Imai. I'm the CCS, or Columbus City Schools K-12 Science Curriculum Coordinator. I think it's actually specialist now. And then...
Yeah. I'm Esther DeBusk. I teach here in the School of Environment and Natural Resources. I'm a lecturer. I primarily focus on the capstone courses, so a lot of community partnerships and community projects, and also teach our incoming student survey course. And you'll see another face up there, obviously not standing up here with us, but wanted to recognize her as well because she's part of our partnership. That's Dr. Marika Hecht. She is our Assistant Professor of Environmental Education. She is leading an environmental education program up at Stone Lab right now and sends her regards, but couldn't be here for this conversation. But what we'll focus on in our presentation here is the elements that are directly related to our partnership, but Marika is involved as well. So the three of us started meeting about this time last year, initiated by Kwesi and a few other folks here in the room. And Kwesi gathered some folks together across Metro Parks, CCS, and Ohio State, and gave us this sort of vision of like, hey, we've got these big institutions right here that are not really intersecting in a meaningful way to help build better pathways for exposure to underrepresented folks in natural environments, in environmental careers, and just an engagement across the board in the environment. And so Kwesi really just sort of said, like, set loose, like, let's see what we can do if these folks come together and start talking about what's possible. And so a couple of meetings in, Marika and Malyn and I had this sort of intersection of like, okay, we think this is something that's possible because we identified some needs and some resources that were complementary across Ohio State and Columbus City Schools. So we'll talk a little bit about those and then talk about what program has come out of that and where we are in our stages right now.
So as educators, especially in an urban district, we noticed some needs and desires that were unique to our district or really any big district. We needed access to local environmental education sites. We needed standard aligned field trips because a lot of programs will be like, we have these field trips and then sometimes we're pulling to align them. And easy to implement logistics because as educators, we're extremely busy and stressed because a lot of us are tested subjects as well. And then also just equity, having that access through the schools and for our teachers to feel comfortable doing that. So resources that we needed were dedicated science teachers, a deep understanding of our content and the context that we're working with, district-wide access, and centralized curriculum support, which is kind of where I was the middleman, but our teachers really were the force of the work here.
And some of these needs arose, I'll get to ours in a second, but we're having these conversations. We've got these incredible other institutions across Central Ohio and across Ohio. We've got the Columbus Zoo, we've got Stone Lab mentioned earlier and things like that, where it's a full day trip for kids to leave, but the logistics that are involved in that are really significant. And if our kids only ever experience nature in these day trips away, they don't see the nature on their walk to school. And so we wanted to imagine how could we empower teachers with these complementary needs and resources that we've got to do some hyper-local field trips just within their own class times. And so we'll get to what that looks like in a second here. But Ohio State, we're always looking to build better connections with our local organizations, K-12 partnerships. Personally, as the person who runs the capstone program, it's based entirely on these types of partnerships. So I'll talk about how that played out directly in capstone. I'm always hoping to get my students into kind of real-world context to see, outside of the books and the things that they've learned, like what does it actually mean when you have like $200 total, right? How do you actually apply that? How do you make decisions based on the actual limitations of resources that you have? And then at Ohio State, we're really resource rich. Everything from the grant that we eventually, received for this program to student time. The capstone students, I have this little army of students that I can sort of set off to solve a specific problem, and they get credit for it, and they get to put it on their resume. But we're trying to find that intersection of really meaningful work on both ends. And so this was where we saw that sort of intersection there. And so what we came to is this Urban EcoExplorers program. And again, the goal is to do what we're calling hyper-local field trips. So a field trip that can happen within a class period time, within walking distance of a school, ideally within even the schoolyard, so that there's not a lot of forms that need to happen and things like that. And we decided to focus on 6th to 8th grade natural resources top state standards. So we've got soil science, the hydrologic cycle, and diversity of species were the 3 that we focused on. And I had the opportunity to go to a PD day for Columbus City Schools back in November and just pitch the idea there. And we had like 22 teachers sign up to be part of the pilot. We picked the 5 schools that had the most teachers involved and set off to work on that in the capstone class in the spring. And so our goal was to make it as easy for a teacher to do a field experience to teach a specific standard as it is to do it in the classroom. So to really identify what are the things that make it more complicated to go outside, and how do we just smooth those out as fast as we can, right? And so the students eventually had several meetings with the teachers that we were working with directly. We were given time in the professional development days, thank you, for that, and we'll be continuing to do that this year. Do you want to talk maybe specifically about what that looks like for us to join the PD days, or what you imagine sort of teacher training involvement has looked like and will look like?
Yeah, so with the pilot, logistics were a big challenge because we only get access to our teachers 4 times districtly. We only get access to them 4 times a year. And so timing with Ohio State was difficult because their spring semester and fall semester look very different compared to our timelines, right? So when we had them come to our professional development, originally it was just to get initial interest, and then when we picked them and selected them, they got an email, and then they were asked to come to this session during our conference for our second conference day. It was really interesting because it was my first year as a K through 12 science curriculum specialist, and it was kind of daunting to be responsible for 4 district professional developments and then also require a certain amount of teachers to go to this particular session. Like, hey, you got selected, but you have to go if you want to be part of it. But honestly, our teachers were so hungry for this experience that I didn't even have to ask. I was like, hey, you should go. This is what you signed up for and you still want to be part of it. And teachers were going. Teachers were talking. Teachers were hungry, especially our middle school teachers, because I hate to say it, middle school gets forgotten. A lot of the times when you have a K through 12 person, it's always that 5th grade and then high school. And then middle school's like, hi. So they were happy that somebody and some programs were specializing with them and their experiences, which in the end just helps our high school curriculum anyways. So the logistics behind it were really interesting, but our teachers, if you are ever worried your teachers will be interested or invested, this is something that we definitely had a lot more interest in than we originally expected, and people are still hungry for it for next year.
Yes, we've got a pilot group, but we're also expecting to expand out within the next year as well. And so what this looked like with my little army of capstone students, I had them choose, I had 3 different groups, one for soils, one for the hydrologic cycle, one for the diversity of species, so the different standards. And they were assigned to, with the teachers, develop activities that made sense for them within a class period. And also to use a map, so you can see a map there, that's Starling K-8 school, that was one of our schools, to really map out, hey, for this specific soils activity, here's where you should go. And they, the soils group dug up some soil, did a test, and said, yep, this is an interesting spot for you to do a soil test with your class, and did all of that background work for the teachers, because the teachers are generalists, they're not soil scientists. I've got soil scientists, right, that I can set off to do this work. And so those soil scientists then created a map of where the teachers should go to do the specific activities at their school. And so we did that for 5 schools across 3 different standards this past semester. And next semester, intend to do the rest of the middle schools across Columbus City Schools with capstone groups. And so you can see here, we've got the Starling K-8 school with the little tag on it. And they've got some area around them, and Green Columbus actually planted a bunch of trees there this past year, which was great. But right across the highway from where they are is a big open green space, which is the Franklin County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And we reached out to them, the group reached out to them and created an agreement that any student from the classes could go over to that area and use it. And it's this big, mature trees, it's a beautiful green space. But if you were at the school and looking that direction, all you would see is 71. And so you'd have to go under this sort of tunnel to get there. But as soon as they get there, they have this incredible green space available for specifically the diversity of species activities. And so again, we're focusing on these kind of hyper-local sites. I'm a parent, and I've noticed that all of the books that you get and the toys that you get are about zoo animals or farm animals or things like that, or dinosaurs. My 4-year-old can name more dinosaurs than birds in his backyard, right? And I'm working on that. But the materials that you get are not building this local environmental literacy. And when you can love the birds in your backyard, you can go on to want to care about them. But if all you love is dinosaurs, worth loving, right? But it's not something that's going to lead to maybe an eventual career in this field that we're looking at. And so that's our goal, right, is to build future environmental stewards as well. So focusing on the hyperlocal side of things, we are, have been checking in with teachers, and we're going to be at the next PD for this group presenting the activities and working on training them on their activities as well.
The other part that is going to be unique to this one, it's actually will be integrated into our curriculum guides. So when a new teacher or veteran teachers even, they'll see oh, during this unit, this is an experience that we can do locally. And then there will also be an outreach version of that program. So if a teacher is well, I'm ready to do the next step, they can do it. So it's kind of tiered as well. We always talk about differentiating for our students, but we don't really consider it for our teachers in certain aspects too. So that's something that we were really excited about as well, which is kind of where Marika comes in. She does more of that Olentangy Wetlands field trip portion. So it's kind of tiered support. And what I'm really excited about is Esther has grad students who will be able to train individually our teachers who are doing these, so they can walk them through the sites that are on their GIS mapping, be like, this is where you would do your water collection for this. This is where you would do your soil collection for this lesson. And that was really exciting to get that grant so that we can give individualized training to our teachers and pay them for it as well.
Yeah, so this is our current timeline. You'll see the headings that are in black are things that happened previously. So we've got that meeting initiated by Kwesi and sort of the ideation process there and what's happened so far. And then we're at this really fun inflection point where we received a grant from Ohio State through the Ohio State Energy Partners to fund buying the kits, to fund paying the teachers for training, and to fund these grad students for this next year that will be part of it. One thing that we heard from the teachers was, it's good to have the activity and it's good to have the kit, but I'm actually like kind of nervous about taking my classroom outside and what classroom management looks like with, 25, 30 sixth graders with shovels, or something like that. And so that was one thing that we hadn't really anticipated was like, okay, yeah, how do we make that feel really safe and doable for the teachers? And so these grad students are going to be part of the training process for the teachers, and we'll be doing the individualized training on the sites themselves, but we'll also be there when they're doing the activity in class. And so the teacher will be working with the grad students to say like, hey, we're doing it, at this time or whatever. And the grad student can come to the class, can serve as, either the primary facilitator if that's their, the way the teacher wants to do it, or even just a second set of hands to help with shovel management, right? And so it's really up to the teachers and the grad students to work on that, but we're really grateful to have the funding to kick that off this year. So that's sort of our plan going forward. Marika and one of her grad students doing some research around this as well to just see sort of effectiveness and scalability beyond that. But our goal, again, is to really go deep with the 5 schools and the teachers that have been involved in the pilot and then expand out as far as we can across Columbus City Schools in the future. Anything back to that? Yeah. All right, so again, this is us. That's our contact information. I think you probably have it in the resources there, but really, really grateful to get to share about this project with you all, and really grateful to partner.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning. My name is Larry Peck. I'm the Deputy Director of Columbus and Franklin County Metro Parks. This is Jill Snyder.
I'm our Visitor Engagement Manager at Metro Parks.
So we have not practiced this. We work together. We work in the same office, but we like to ad-lib these kind of things. So Jill will be the warm, compassionate person. I'm the cold, calculated, selfish person. So just to forewarn you with that. I learned a long time ago that when you are speaking and you have bosses in the audience, you should probably introduce them. And very interestingly, I work in 3 different areas. I have bosses for all 3 areas here today, which is excellent. So for Columbus and Franklin County Metro Parks, board member Ari Alex is sitting back there. He should raise his hand. The things that we talk about and the successes of Metro Parks really go back to our board. We have a really tremendous board. We've always had a tremendous board, so thank you for your support. I am a lecturer with the School of Environment and Natural Resources, so Tim, I have to recognize you. And I'm a softball coach at Whetstone High School, so Christina, I have to acknowledge you as another boss of mine. So I was sitting here reflecting about that, and I was thinking this is really kind of very interesting for that. So I'm going to talk real briefly, give you an overview of Metro Parks for those of you who are not familiar with who we are. I want to talk a little bit about our Columbus School intern program, and then I want to talk a little bit about, in my mind, some of the important components on these programs that have been successful. And then Jill's going to talk about our SEED program. So Metro Parks, as you can see, we have 20 parks. We are actually in 7 counties in central Ohio. We are a regional system of natural area parks, which we're now morphing a little bit more into active recreation and outdoor adventure type things. Our founders were educators, were naturalists, and so we've always been really strong in interpretive programs. And Jill is probably the best interpretive educator in the state of Ohio.
You have to say that because I'm standing here.
I don't have to say that. We have over 12 million visitors a year. That number is actually around 13 million. We manage about 29,000 acres. So we have a lot of things going on with us. I think we host 2,400 species of plants and animals and bugs and things like that live in our parks. And so, we're a fairly decent organization. We've been around since 1945. You want to go to there? The CSI program, that's our Columbus School intern program. This was created in 2007. So we've been doing this for a long time. We are focusing on Columbus City Schools from the very beginning. I won't go into great details on every year. The program adapts and it evolves over time, but we'll have 20 to 25 high school students from the Columbus City School program in that. 40 hours a week. We pay a stipend of $90 a day. We're going to talk about some of the barriers here on why we do those kind of things. We see it as an opportunity for young people to get out into our parks, to see that there are careers in natural resource management for them to follow. We do other things. We help them with some financial advice. We talk about retirement, even though they're 16, 17, 18 years old. It's kind of amazing how time passes and you do start thinking about retirement. As I said before, I'm a selfish person. And so if I say things that offend you, it's not the Ohio State University, it's not Metro Parks, it's not the Columbus City Schools, it's just me. So one of the things when we started talking about these programs, and that includes the SEED program, is we really wanted to take a look at what are barriers for things. And again, selfishly, we are looking for employees for Metro Parks. And one of the barriers is that, I've got this experience from working with high school students. A lot of them, they know what they want to do early on, and one of the things that they never think about is natural resource management. Selfishly, I need maintenance folks to maintain our parks. I need rangers to patrol our parks. We need educators to do nature programs. We need folks to do our outdoor education, our outdoor adventure programs. So selfishly, we're looking at that type of situation. For a lot of these kids, one of the barriers is they've already decided what they want to be, even though they don't know what they want to be, but they come to parks. They do come to parks, but they've never thought of that as a career. It's one of the things we've learned as we've gone through this high school internship program. Other barriers we have. Some of these kids, and we focus strictly on Columbus City Schools. We are a levy-based organization. We get our funding from a 10-year levy that's voted on by the taxpayers of Franklin County. 10 years, every 10 years we have to renew those levies. The largest block of voters, again, go back to my selfishness, is within the city of Columbus, within the Columbus City School District, and we need to make sure that we are touching those folks. So, one of the barriers that we see is when we work with these high school kids, and Jill will attest to this, they are so afraid of the natural world. They're in neighborhoods that I have fear when I go into these neighborhoods, and these kids, no big deal. But you put them in a park with a deer, they are pretty certain they're going to be eaten by that deer. A fox is like, whoa. A groundhog, oh my gosh, right? And so those are barriers that we have to overcome. I work with young people enough that I know their identity is with their peers. As parents, I'm a parent, right? You always want your kids to identify with you. At a certain age, they identify with their friends. And we've had internship programs for years, right? We take a person, put them with somebody, they shadow them, they learn what they do. It's great. When you start talking about some of these kids, that is really daunting for them. So one of the things we looked at was, let's do groups, right? Let's have multiple people together. So that's a barrier. One of the other things they see as barriers is time. It's like our park managers are busy individuals. So we got coordinators. So we go to The Ohio State University. Once again, I get to be a lecturer. And we have been able to recruit people to come as coordinators for this program that have then turned into full-time employees. And I would guess, I haven't counted it up, we probably have 25 current employees at Metro Parks that either were high school interns or were coordinators of the high school program. So again, I'm going to turn it over to Jill here in just a minute. Like I say, I'm not going into any great details. If the panel thing, we can talk details if you're interested in that. One of the things that I always, again, introduce bosses, but also remember roots. So I started years and years ago in state parks. I was an assistant park manager. And if some of you will remember, many of you won't, the Civilian Conservation Corps that the Ohio Department of Natural Resources had. And there were two components to that program. There was the YCC program and then there was the YACC program. How many educators are out there? So thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. I'm a high school coach. I can put up with these kids for about 2 hours. How you do it for 8 hours or 10 hours a day, good for you. But the YCC program were the kids that you like to have in your class, right? They were respectful, they were fun, they were just great. The YACCs were basically unemployed, many cases unemployable, 19 to 22-year-olds. And I gotta be honest, when I was at Dillon State Park, the YCC kids were great. The YACC was so challenging. They did things that were just absolutely amazing, both positively but also negatively. But I never ever forgot that, the impact, the inspiration that you can have on young people. And so when we got into what we were going to create, the Columbus, it's the CSIs. We have that name, CSI. Sounds cool, right? Kids like cool. So they used to be urban youth. That didn't work out so well. So we did those kind of things. But these kids, number one, maybe we inspire them. But I will tell you, quite frankly, again, going back to being selfish, they are very inspirational for us. They bring in energy. The stories that these kids have, again, Jill will remember some of these. We have kids that take 3 buses to get to our program because one of the big barriers for high school kids in the Columbus City school system is transportation. So typically we would expect you to come to us, right? But if you don't know how to come to us or you can't come to us, we got to get you there, right? So I can remember one young man, I used to do this. I used to drop the van off. So we pick them up at high schools. We take them to a park. They work, come back, right? And we drop them off at the high school. This kid had a bike with no seat on it. And I was kind of like, well, that's a smart move because no one will steal your bike if it doesn't have a seat. No, didn't have a seat. So again, what do we need to do something about that.
The screen is there. It goes. Something just wiggled.
No. See, I have a magic touch with IT. You guys really appreciate people like me, right? To keep job security for you.
That special metal plate in your head. Let me just turn
2.
this off.
I have 2. No, all good. See, I can see it here.
Yeah, I'm looking at that there.
You guys are missing the pretty pictures.
They're all good. That's all right. So anyway, but like I say, very inspirational. You know, this kid rides on a bike with no seat to come to our internship program. So they've had kids that have taught our park managers how to rap, which is really kind of very intriguing in so many different ways. So with that, turn over to you, Jill, on the SEED program. Not fall off the stage.
Larry and I dance around up here. So I have been with Metro Parks for a pretty long time, and my background is environmental education. It's kind of my passion, and I was really, really lucky in that when I started with Metro Parks, we just started to work on the SEED program. It stands for Students Exploring Ecosystem Dynamics. There are lots of misnomers out there. SEED is really the name of it. And the idea was, again, to Larry's point, we started as an organization 75 plus years ago. We were founded by educators. We knew that the idea was that you needed to get people excited about nature to really get them to protect and conserve those spaces. And listening to all the work that you guys are doing with the Urban Explorers here now, this is like the baby that started it all. Because in 2000, we said as a district, we want to make sure that every Columbus City School student gets to a Metro Park, has an experience in a Metro Park. And how are we going to go about doing that? Part of that was we wanted to reach out to kids that maybe aren't as capable of getting to a park on their own. Maybe there are some of those barriers to being a little bit afraid to be out there. And so we went to Columbus City Schools and we said, here's our goal. What can we do to help you? Where are there gaps? Where do you have a need? Rather than saying, we have this amazing, great curriculum and you should use it, we said, let's work together on this. So I was lucky that when we started, we were kind of at the beginning. We were working with their science curriculum coordinator at the time and our naturalist staff, and we were kind of pulling together different things that we thought could be useful for Columbus City School students. The fifth grade was identified because they were taking the science test. They were struggling at times to pass the state science test, so we were hoping to help with that. And so we came up with the SEED program. We started out small. Initially, it was to be partly in fifth grade and then bleed over to sixth grade. That got a little complicated. Because sixth grade field trips are a challenge, as we already heard. So we really decided to focus on fifth grade. And so now we are at a point where we have students that have been part of the program. In fact, Macy's out there in the world, she was a SEED student back in the day. So we, again, just like the CSI program that Larry talked about, we have students that are now part of our team and our workforce. So the idea with SEED was that we wanted to look at what do the teachers need? What do the students need? How are we going to make this work? So it is a curriculum-based program. It is meant to be 9 weeks in life sciences. For a while, it was the life science curriculum for Columbus City Schools. It included a teacher development day to try and train them because, again, they're generalists. They are not necessarily comfortable teaching the science. And so all of the lesson plans include the background. So they're not having to go out, do more research, do more work to get there. It includes an activity like rundown step by step, how are you going to do this activity? It has a supply list. We realized that supplies were a challenge, right? If all of a sudden every student needs to build a terrarium, dirt and seeds, the money adds up. So we provided supplies for that project. And then, of course, transportation to and from the Metro Parks was included in all of that. And we really enjoyed it. We have naturalists that go into the classroom and lead portions of the activities. And then we have the field trips that happen in our parks as well. And I will say, we modified it as time went on. The state standards changed, teaching expectations changed, and so did our curriculum. So we modified things. One of my first experiences was we would go to the classroom, and we would try to teach an activity about diversity of plants and animals. And we would go out into the schoolyard, and we would try to count plants in an area to try and compare that to the lack of diversity, really, that you find in a schoolyard. And it meant that we had to do graphs and charts and all of this stuff. I am a science educator outside. Graphs and charts aren't my strong suit. So all of a sudden we're like, why are we teaching this activity that we're not very good at either? So we modified it. We changed it, and now we go into the classroom with plants and animals that you can find in the metro parks, and we talk about that. And we share that knowledge. Esther mentioned that her kid knows more about dinosaurs than about the things right here, right? And that was the thing. I would start off with those kids and I would say, tell me about an animal that's endangered or threatened or needs our help. And I would get pandas, elephants, rhinos. Well, right here in Ohio, we have box turtles, hellbenders, eagles, right? We have lots of things, and they didn't know that. So we tried to kind of flip that and bring it in to what do we have here locally. And so we've provided that. We've modified it again over the course of time. COVID happened and things changed. No longer do we get all the professional days for development and training. So we have lessons online. We have the curriculum online. We don't provide all of the supplies and materials now. We do offer it if it's needed. We pay for transportation, and we've expanded. We've asked the teachers to be a vital part of the field trip experience too, so that they can help us tailor it. So it's not just this is the field trip regardless. If your students need something different, we can do it differently for them. And we've got Southwestern City Schools as part of the SEED program now. We do them in the spring because they are also an enormous district. We have a few schools from Reynoldsburg, Whitehall, Catholic Diocese, Hilliard. And so we're always looking at ways that we can kind of broaden and change and adapt over the course of time. I think that's one of the things that is really amazing is that Metro Parks is huge. Larry said we have 20 different parks, all of these acres. And for us, we are able to pivot. We can add an inclusive playground when Jessica Bennett shows up at one of our board meetings and says, here's something that you're missing. We love to hear that input from the public and then be able to kind of adapt and adjust. Because even though we're big, we are nimble is one of Larry's favorite words. He's my boss, so I have to say that. But we add a lot of pieces and parts to it. And I think that that's really the thing that's been amazing. We've had big events. We've had students come out with their families, and the kids get to run the field trip and teach their parents what they've learned. So we've done a lot of different things, and we're always hoping to kind of expand and add to it. And again, to reach out to communities and people that maybe aren't able to come to the parks all the time. For us. I am going to be here all day today, and I'm excited, kind of like you are, to walk the land and be out there. And Larry and I are happy to answer any other questions and things that you might have. But it's been really great to see all of the worlds come together here in this room today. And so to kind of continue that conversation, I think is really exciting. So, Larry, final words?
No final words.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Good job.
So hi. Shari and I come to you from a different aspect. Shari and I are both teachers, and I teach in Northwest Ohio Perrysburg schools.
And I teach in North Olmsted City Schools in the Cleveland area.
And we've been invited as recent award winners with Presidential Innovation and Environmental Education Awards. It's a joint award with the White House and the EPA. I was recognized in 2022, and Shari is the most recent recipient this year. Thanks. So our journey as teachers Shari and I just finished my 30th year.
And I just finished my 20th year.
And Shari and I met on the Lake Guardian EPA research vessel, which does a teacher program where you live and work on an EPA research vessel. We happen to be on Lake Erie in 2019, working alongside scientists studying microplastics and algae and macro and microinvertebrates. Mm-hmm. And last week we were hiking on a glacier in Iceland. so that is us literally on an Iceland seeing climate change firsthand. So we just wanted to share a little bit with you about some things that we have done as educators, but basically we have learned to embrace the magic of being lifelong learners, and that there are so many opportunities for educators to jump in with professionals and scientists and to really help you become an expert in your classroom, so that when you're, when I'm talking about a volcano and I can say, oh yeah, well, I was standing on the side of a volcano with ash blowing in my eyes and ruining my sunglasses last week, you can really bring that relationship back to the students. So these are just some highlights of some of the things that Shari and I have done as educators. I got to go to Costa Rica and study conservation. I was in Mexico in February and saw the monarch migration, which that was an incredible experience. I've studied bison in Yellowstone, scooping up their poop and learning what they're eating.
And I've been on board, as Amy said, the RV Lake Guardian that goes out on the Great Lakes every summer. I was really excited that Case Western Reserve University asked me to help do teacher professional developments in the summers. So last summer and this summer, so we had a little white coat ceremony. I was very excited. And then also coming down to Columbus every year, I really look forward to coming to the State Science Education Council of Ohio conference and just connecting with other professionals like in this room and then other teachers from around the state.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with SENR, it is an incredible connecting environment for teachers right here, held in Columbus every year in the winter. And put it on your calendar because it's definitely worth going to. You can hear a lot of different variety of speakers, teachers doing things in their classroom right away. You can also hear from professionals and just gather so many resources. It's like this on steroids. Harrison invited us just to kind of share a little bit of our journey, and not that the award is the end goal. The award is nice to be recognized, right? To say that, hey, what you're doing with, I teach 5th and 6th grade, what you're doing with 5th and 6th graders is having a bigger impact than just little Perrysburg, Ohio. So I was recognized for some things that I've been doing, and I just want to share a little bit about those things. I do a lot of citizen science with my students. Native prairies, pollinator protection, a little bit of water quality, and marine debris study with my students. So my main goal with my kids is just to foster some curiosity. We have a 2-acre nature prairie. So just getting my kids, this is on our school grounds. And have you ever had a 10-year-old sit with the clipboard and just watch? And I'm like, you can't touch anybody, you can't talk to anybody, you've just got to sit and look and start doing some questions. This particular handout comes from Mystery Science, which is a paid subscription, but I really like to use it, like to get kids to thinking, why? What is happening? What are these little bugs? What is this plant? What's going on? So this is our 2-acre prairie. It was put in with a grant from the Toledo Zoo and the EPA, and it went in right when our school was being built 8 years ago. And I went to the maintenance guy and I said, hey, I want a prairie. Oh, okay. What does that involve? I said, it involves you not mowing. and so he was really happy about the not mowing piece, right? It's 2 acres he didn't have to take care of. And the zoo provided some maintenance with us. Now my maintenance guy, he just has to mow a path the width of his mower, right? It's not any more than just mow this path for me. But it provides this outdoor space right outside. And a lot of it happens like, oh, hey, it's a really nice day. Let's just go outside, right? Let's go catalog some bees today. So getting them outside, we teach them some plant identification and, have some things. That's our BioBlitz up there in the top. We do a BioBlitz for an entire week in September so that we can get all 1,000 5th and 6th graders at my school outside cataloging. But just a very easy way, we came up with some photo charts of some things we know that are out there to just kind of get them started to identifying what's happening. So I'm pretty big into the pollinators, bumblebees, teaching kids how to safely catch and identify bees and wasps. You know, they're told not to catch wasps, but as you can see there, Javon likes wasps. You know, and part of that scary part of getting outside is, what if somebody gets stung? What if, you know, what about ticks? What about all those things? I carry a tick key on my, you know, my lanyard, and I have bug spray available if they want it. Teaching them how to use bug spray over here, so you're not actually killing the bugs, put it on you. But teaching them to identify what they're finding and being super excited and not chasing each other with bees. And they're 10 and 11, so of course they're gonna chase kids with bees. But creating these habitats, that top right sign, our prairie got mowed in the first 6 months, and it was not supposed to get mowed. And my kids went on this campaign of just lambasting, and of course we had a trail cam that caught the guy that mowed it, right? So they wanted him fired, they wanted, you know, how could he ruin these habitats? And we're establishing, and, you know, native plants, they leap, then they creep, and, you know, and so, or they creep, then they leap, sorry. So they just really, so those signs came out of them, right? Like, don't mow this. This bottom sign, our school backs up to a neighborhood, and what is this big weedy patch that is in our neighborhood, right? So that, we created a Metro Parks style sign. We had a little contest with the kids, and her sign is there permanently saying what this area is with our kids. Quinn in the middle there with her zinnias got her backyard certified as a natural wildlife habitat. She's taught all her neighbors to put in pollinator gardens. One of my projects is a pocket prairie, and they have to design a pocket prairie, and then they have to go home and show this little pocket prairie idea to their parents. And Quinn's parents said yes. You know, so just fabulous. And then on the left, we planted 90 trees on our property, and then every year my new group of students adopts a tree. And then they have to watch that tree and look for, you know, what bugs are around it, how the leaves are maturing, how that tree changes over the seasons. And I also had to explain to the neighbors what all of these 90 white deer protectors are on our property. So getting my kids connected through citizen science, these are some of the organizations that I do with my kids to show that even though you're a 10 to 12-year-old right here in Perrysburg, Ohio, you can be connected to global research and global connections with scientists. So these have all been really great in just connecting kids. Journey North, if you're not familiar with Journey North, is Monarchs connecting students with a school in Mexico. And so my students have been writing letters for the past 10 years with kids in Mexico, like, hey, we see the monarchs here. When do you see the monarchs? And then I had that culminating experience this winter to go to those schools and to see those monarchs and to really learn alongside a bug guy who was, you know, giving me all the really cool things. The GLOBE program and my NASA data help connect kids in a much bigger way. So Monarch Watch is another one with tagging the monarchs. And this is the Journey North, connecting kids. And then we do some water quality monitoring in the spring and marine debris. And so it's really important that you connect your kids with local experts. So the bald guy there, Jesse's with Partners for Clean Streams. So he came out and showed the kids about monitoring water. And then we did a marine debris cleanup along the Maumee River, which is a tributary to Lake Erie. And big on connecting kids to just real simple things, right? With books. Kids are never too old for children's books. Picture books really can help make that science. And I think in my 30 years of teaching, now is a really rich time of children's literature centering around science and environmental education. And so just a quick Amazon search will get you books like this. But BioBlitz is the book I use to help introduce it. We do bird counts in the winter. You can do pollinator counts. The Rachel Carson story down there, Spring After Spring. So children's books are just a really great way to bridge into with kids. So thanks for letting me share a little bit. Shari's going to share about some of her experiences as an educator as well. And we will be here through lunch if you would like to share with us as well.
Perfect. So again, I'm Shari Insley from the north, I guess you could say the North Coast, in North Olmsted. And I know I am the person standing between us and lunch, so I will be very cognizant of the time. So just like Amy, last summer I won the Presidential Innovation Award, and it was for my Water Guardians project, which has just become near and dear to my heart. It's been a labor of love and passion, and I love that several of my students are here at Ohio State studying environmental science. So it's been incredible. So you'll see some pictures of us outdoors, out in the field on our school campuses, our collaboration with some of the experts, and then just that real world connection, getting their hands wet, getting their hands dirty, and learning about right in their own backyard. So my journey didn't start out nice and wonderful like a lot of people's. I was a math teacher, and the answer to all problems is just one number, x equals 2. And then my principal and union president came to me a couple of years into teaching and said, "You got to go to science." And I cried for an entire summer, and then started teaching and just kept crying. And I thought, this is miserable. I need to do something because I think this is my fate. I think I'm stuck in science. So I either need to embrace it or I need to keep crying. So I went to this wonderful place that I know some of you guys know and love, and I went to Stone Lab and took the educator course that the most amazing people, Angela Green, that I know a lot of you guys know, and Lindsay Manzo led, and that just opened up my world to science, and I fell in love that week. And they immersed me. As you can see, I picked up a fish and, tried to kiss it. We went canoeing up at Old Woman Creek. We did the dissection in the lab, and then just countless labs and things that week. So Ohio State and just the Ohio Sea Grant helped get me going and just go, okay, I can do this. So fast forwarding a little bit, one of the projects we did that week was we used the Hydro Lab, which is from the US EPA, and it's grant funded through the Illinois-Indiana Sea Grant. And I became the most borrower, if you could say that, of the Hydro Lab, and it just is a fascinating device that it's got all of our creeks, lakes, rivers, the buoys in Lake Erie will even text you the data, which is so fun. But it's a way for the students to actually use that scientific equipment to measure the turbidity, the chlorophyll A, pH, the dissolved oxygen of that whatever body of water we would like to use. So this has become one of my passions with teaching science. And then beyond that, it was nice to reach out to our local metro parks and not just look at the chemistry piece, but also the biology, and know that, okay, I don't have to be an expert in this. I can reach out to local people. So I've worked with some phenomenal naturalists up in the Cleveland area, and just how they've just really enriched that process even more, again, than just the chemistry. And then taking it a step further, this is on our school campus this past fall, reaching out to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, so bringing in the macroinvertebrate specialists and being able to collect a sample and then look right under the microscope, borrowed from our AP environmental classes, to be right under the microscopes, look at a fresh sample, and then, be able to return it to our creeks. And then finally, my last piece is working with the program I started back in 2016. I called us the Water Guardians, and I met this man named Dietrich just a couple of years ago, and he was interested in creating a device like the Hydro Lab that was more affordable and easier for Metro Park schools and people to use. It's not just for hydro labs in the country for teachers to borrow, but to have plenty. So he and I started working together a couple of years ago. He'd come to our campus, as you can see up there, and he just in January named the scientific device the Water Guardian in our honor and working with our kids. So you can see my kids were beyond thrilled, and now they are for sale on his website through GuyAccess. And again, it's way more affordable than the multi-$1,000 Hydro Lab. So again, just to kind of get more science in more people's hands. So you can see the kids measuring the salinity in our creek. And one of the things that has been so interesting with that is he is on the Chesapeake Bay, and every spring that he's come, our creek levels on our campus creek are higher that flow right out into Lake Erie than him being right there on the Chesapeake Bay going out into the ocean. So we've got some questions and some work to do, which I'm excited to further. And then one other thing in terms of connections was connecting with scientists and then the RV Lake Guardian. So there's a really cool project. It can be high school down through, again, I did this with 5th graders, the Shrinking Cup Lab, which is fun. You can do as much math as you'd like to do with it. You could see the kids up there measuring, finding the mass of their cups and the lengths. And then in the bottom right corner, you can see what they look like after they've been deployed to the bottom of Lake Superior. So it's kind of fun to see, wow, that's a lot of pressure on one little cup. And then again, just talking with scientists as they're live doing research in whatever Great Lake they happen to be on, and they share the data, as you can see in the middle screen, as they're lowering the device. And again, just being able to ask questions, as you can see one of my students actually talking to the scientist and just asking. The number one question, which cracks me up, my kids want to know is, what's your favorite food? But that's 5th graders for you. So this past year, winning that presidential award, I was lucky enough to be able to welcome the former EPA Region 5 director into the classroom. And she wanted to do an experiment with my students and just know more about the Hydro Lab. I know she left us and went right to Stone Lab. She was all excited just to kind of see this wonderful area in the Northeast and just being able to partner with her. And then the last partnership that I feel is so important is not only to reach out, but also to reach within your district. I was able to work with our AP Environmental students, and then we also have a service learning program called the SITES program. And all of these guys in the middle, a lot of them are here at Ohio State, we're able to just be a mentor for the students. You can see them working both inside the classroom on different labs and activities, and then also on the right, as you see with the Hydro Lab and then the microscopes, and just sharing their wisdom and their knowledge and just their passion for what they learned. And it's really fun when they've had me in middle school or 5th grade, and that, they can kind of share some of those stories. So don't forget to look within your district or within your area to also partner, especially when so many of us have so many barriers. But I really feel that the biggest takeaway going from math to science is that you do not have to be the expert of everything. I've learned that there's so many people out there, and if I don't have the answer, then I can call on so many other people that do have the answer to help me, to help my students, and just continue to grow the environmentalists in our state and hopefully our country and world. So,
Yes.
Yeah, so that's our contact information. We are honored to be here. Thank you for having us and letting us share a little bit of our story.
Yep, just leave it right there.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that I have a very useful college minor, geological history of the dinosaurs. Yeah, so very, very useful. So thank you.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a break for lunch. Let's give another round of applause to all of our speakers. They're not done yet. They'll be back here on the couches for a panel after lunch. So please, let's let all of our speakers go first so they can eat before the panel. There are boxed lunches in the hallway where you came from, so everyone can head out. This is a good time to use the bathroom as well. We'll meet back here at 11:40 for the panel. Well, at that time, we'll take questions from the audience as well as from Kwesi, our moderator. So we'll see you all back here in your seats at 11:40. All right, everybody, we're going to come back together. Please keep on eating as we move to the panel portion of the morning. And now I'm going to reintroduce Kwesi Kambon to come up here and lead the panel session as our moderator. So thank you, Kwesi.
I told you that I was so excited the night before, but after listening to the panel we had. I'm so excited now. I don't know if I can go to sleep tonight. I just heard so much, but I just want to now have this discussion, with some of our panelists, and I'm going to apologize to one of the panelists, Larry here. I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Larry, I'm on the same stage as you guys. Please don't believe that I think I'm qualified. These are the people who know the stuff. And so I just apologize to Larry about how much we can learn from these people even during this discussion. So I'm going to ask them to come up, Larry and Jill and the rest of the folks who are going to be on the panel, and we'll just have this discussion, and it will be informal. There will be times when you get to ask questions as well. We already heard a little from them, and we know how knowledgeable they are. And as they get situated, one of the things I want to just put on the table, part of the focus of this discussion is from classroom to career. And so we've talked a lot about how we are preparing teachers to learn more about the environment, but I want to kind of focus some of the questions about how we can move toward finding out all the various careers that are available now and what could be available in the future, and then what we need to do starting today to help prepare some of these students for these careers. So, and with the panel, I'm just going to lob off, say questions. You can choose to answer them if it's appropriate, but I guess I want to kind of get an idea from your point of view. What are the primary careers that really some people don't know about, that are available in your space? And maybe we'll just start there, because there's some things almost everybody knows, but there may also be some things that nobody ever knows about, hears about. So how can we prepare kids for those careers if they don't know about them? So I'll just start off that question. What are the careers in your area that maybe our kids or the general public don't even know about? Who has the mic? Larry, you have the mic? Or...
Thanks, Kwesi. So this is why you should never get the mic to begin with, right? Because you get the first one. From a Metro Park standpoint, Metro Parks are like little cities. So if you think about a job in a city, we do maintenance, and we try to expose our CSIs to all of these different elements. And we talk to them early in the program to see if they have a particular interest. Certainly have maintenance opportunities. We have a law enforcement program, so we have kids that become interested in being a ranger. We have education programs. We have an outdoor adventure program. And then we're like any business, so we have all these side financial things and human resources things. So actually, we have many, many opportunities there. And again, we probably now have about 25 people that work full-time for Metro Parks right now that either were CSIs or were coordinators, and then we've used that as an opportunity. And I want to point out Danielle, who is now taking a bite. Of course, we always do that. So Danielle Bush was a CSI, came to Ohio State, has a master's degree, right? And those all kinds of cool things. So again, going back to those career things, the opportunities are there from a Metro Park standpoint.
Okay, sure.
So one pathway that I'm seeing a lot of growth in now and into the future is the intersection between the environment and health and society. So social sciences, sociology, and understanding how society interacts with nature and that also for all those who really love technology, we're looking for you too. There's a lot to do with marketing and communications and outreach, and so you don't have to nerd out on nature to have a wonderful job in conservation in the environment. There's a way for you to leverage your skills if you like storytelling or connecting people to place. But I'd encourage those out there to think uniquely about the intersection with health and the environment, and yeah.
Any others?
So I have a little bit of a unique perspective here, because I'm not going to talk about careers at Ohio State necessarily, but I get to be in the room with the first-year students when they're coming in and hear, one of the assignments that I give them is, what career are you imagining right now? And then I am with those same students 3.5 years later in their capstone course, and I actually see what jobs they go into when they graduate. So I feel really keenly attuned to maybe the types of careers that are out there. And I'll also point you, if you have questions about careers, even you want someone to come into your classroom to talk about environmental careers, there's a whole team of folks back there with Ohio State. They won't come in and pitch Ohio State. They can just come in and talk about the types of careers that are available to folks. And I'd say, one thing that I would encourage teachers to do is to just encourage curiosity in students, because a lot of them don't really know what's in the field. It's hard to cover everything that's in the field. And so encourage them to not feel like they need to know when they're 18 years old that I will be a marine biologist or I will be an environmental lawyer or something like that. They might go on to be that, but take that curiosity, know, okay, I want to land in this area with this major potentially, and that type of career will unfold. How many people in this room are doing today what they thought they were going to do when they were 18? Some folks, certainly. And that's wonderful. That is a group of people that we have as well. But I think the conversation that we have about environmental careers leading up to college and into the experiences of internships and things like that is fairly narrow. I think we can expand that. But they know about being a marine biologist, about working for the EPA, or very specific types of things. But there are thousands of categories of careers that someone can go into in the environmental field across natural and social sciences. And so I think, encouraging them to come in with curiosity and openness is important.
That's great. Well, I just learned something. I didn't know if you were interested in storytelling, there might be a career for you. It's not too late for me then. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about how can we better educate teachers and administrative staff so they fully understand about careers. We already talked about what we've been doing, and we've been doing some great stuff all over the place, all over the state. But what are some ways we can take it to the next level to educate our school staff about careers?
So being a teacher, I feel like this kind of professional development is way more valuable than anything that we are offered in our districts or voluntold to attend. So I think this networking, with professionals out in the field, the scientists, I think the universities, and just continue that conversation of science from all the different aspects. And again, bringing all the different voices to the table at the same time is so valuable. So more of this would be great.
Fantastic. Any other?
And I think connecting yourself, if, curious, when Shari and I were in Iceland, there were some scientists taking soil samples from these mud pots, and Shari goes, well, I'm just going to ask them what they're doing. And here they were, scientists from the Netherlands, comparing the surface of Iceland to the surface of Mars with the Mars rover. And we never would have known that had we not just asked. So I think as teachers, asking and connecting and connecting your students with those experts as well, and to let your students see that you're not afraid to ask those questions either, and to create those safe spaces that, if you notice a kid is really good at drawing and say, well, did you know you could be a medical illustrator? Or you could be, sketching for a Nature Conservancy book? Just kind of recognizing those skills in the students, and, they might not have even known that was a possibility.
And to anyone else? Sure.
So what we know about like environmental career pathways, there's like two inflection points. One is positive experiences in nature as a child. So feeling safe in those spaces and knowing that like nature is, for me, not true for everyone, but for a lot of people that go into environmental careers, it starts with this early childhood experience. And then there's a teacher in high school, and they have this like upper, teenage experience where they're doing something that they love, and some important person in their life says to them, do you know this is something you can do? And those are the inflection points, right? And so being that person that, whether that means for you, like digging into the types of careers that are out there, or, getting out and experiencing more of, what's happening in Iceland and the Mars rover and things like that, to be able to give that story to a student. I met a scientist in Iceland that was doing that. You could do that. That is the second inflection point. And so being able to speak that over a child and give them that vision for what they can do is a key part of most people's path into this specific field.
You said something very key. Having our children have positive experiences in nature at an early age. And so there's another area that we have partners all over the place, but we're missing a partner at this discussion, and that is parents and community. That is, that as much as we would like to get our children involved and know about it, it would be really key and great and important for us to have parents and community members saying that same thing. So a question to the panel, how can we outreach in a better way to parents and to community members so they understand the value of being outdoors?
So I'm going to approach that in a different way, Kwesi.
Sure.
I think there's two groups of people here that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So we are talking about those families that are kind of many of us grew up, mom and dad, they had some interest in the environment, they went to parks, they camped. So there's another group of people. And I guess I agree absolutely with what Esther said as far as those inflection points. Mm-hmm. But I would also say we don't want to give up on the kids that don't have those inflection points. And so I kind of go back into the CSI program. Like our SEED program hits every fifth grader. Okay, that's good. Our CSI program targeted. It targeted those folks that are kind of getting left behind or who don't have that inflection point. And for those kids, they go to parks, maybe, probably not. And we go into high schools and we work with the guidance counselors to identify, and we used to use the term at-risk kids. And it's amazing. It's kind of Esther's experience where you see people at the beginning and then you see them at the end. So we get these kids, you interview them, and they don't know what a park is or they don't identify with that. And we're giving them a job. And for many of them, it's their first job. And so we have to work on things. And we've had plenty of kind of failures in there, but you have to come to the high school where we're going to pick you up at on time, because the van pulls up and the van sits there for 2 minutes. And if you don't get on the van, bye-bye daily stipend. That's why we do a daily stipend. And again, I would encourage us with parents or with parents, because I will tell you, I'll go back into the inspirational part of this. Some of our high school interns are the monetary breadwinners for their family that summer. And I will tell you, it inspires me, the barriers that these kids are dealing with. And so, again, the parents, the community, we really are dependent on the guidance counselors to help us identify who are kids that actually would benefit from our CSI programs. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's my answer.
Sure.
So I have a little bit of a unique perspective as someone who grew up in a disadvantaged and marginalized community myself. A lot of my opportunities kind of hinged on whether my parents can get me there or not. And a lot of the times they couldn't. They had blue collar jobs. They were working on the weekends or evenings when all of these opportunities were made available. And so I found myself really only enjoying certain pockets of nature here and there around the city that I grew up in. And it wasn't until I was about 26 years old that I found out that there was like natural areas and that there was more to offer in nature. And so really being able to take that, it wasn't until I could take it into my own hands, I could drive myself there, I could get myself there, that these opportunities actually became realized. And so what I would say is to think around those ABCs I talked about, the access, the barriers, and the capacity. How can you increase access to something, whether that be through the stipends you say daily or, sponsoring maybe their costs to get there to travel. Think in unique ways. Now there's all the virtual technologies that we can bring to the board to bring everyone to the same table. So I just think about, having those deep, meaningful community listening sessions and not just listening, but hearing what is brought to the table, and working to co-creation in that can really have dynamic outcomes, because when the parents know that there is this community they can lean on and these trusted partners, just wonderful things come out for the youth and young adults. So thinking uniquely in some of those opportunities that, don't always fit the mold, I think is, one of the ways I would encourage others.
Fantastic.
To think about
Thank
it.
you. Any other comments?
Coming from the school perspective, I'm thinking the more you can engage your students and have your students do the telling and the educating. I think Amy and I both teach in places where, thank goodness, transportation isn't a barrier because the kids walk, so it's within walking distance, and the parents. But just to have your students take that leadership role and be the ones that are sharing with the community, I feel like the community listens when, the little kids speak. And also just that personal invitation. It's not just a flyer, but to invite parents, hey, it's, conference night or something, and say, hey, I don't know if your son is presenting, it'd be wonderful if you would come, invite your neighbors, and just have that personal, I think, connection helps as well.
Fantastic. And just on this topic of how to get more parents and community involved, I'm going to be a little transparent because that's why I'm involved, but also I need to say that sometimes my community doesn't understand or appreciate my involvement. I one time put a picture of me on Facebook being out in a winter hike, and my own brother said, "Take that picture off. You're embarrassing the family. Our community doesn't hike in the wintertime, put it out." And so some of the work has to be done within the community themselves, within diverse people themselves. Diverse people need to be able to share, but also it's important for the community to see diverse people in leadership roles, to know that that is possible for them. And I know we'll get some questions and comments from the audience in just a second, but I want to just get to a couple quick questions for the group. Are there any success stories that you can share about how you were able, and we're talking about careers again, how you were able to recruit diverse people for careers, and any success stories that you can point out that your agency has been able to do? Anybody can have the mic.
I'll go back. We have 25, somewhere around that, full-time employees at Metro Parks that came out of our CSI program. Some of them came out of the SEED program, which is really kind of fun. When you have, I remember in 5th grade, a naturalist came to my class, or I went out in the woods scared to death. Then I was a high school intern, and we haven't, you talked about IT. One of our IT people came out of our high school intern program. And again, I know him personally. I don't see him. He's not the big nature guy. He's an IT guy. And, he was with us, and he left, and he went into the private sector, and he was bottling salad dressing or something like that. And then his passion is IT. And it was come back because we need IT people. So I would tell you, we do have those success stories.
Okay. Any other examples any of you want to share? That's no problem. Okay. Well, let me
I was just going to say one of the most dynamic things that I've seen in the age of technology is like around our externships, the externship program that we have that's able to bring youth and young adults together from a whole host of different backgrounds and places and spaces and bring them together and hyper local action on these projects. And so through that externship that we've seen some really dynamic results and community benefits throughout, which has been exciting.
Okay, I just have one more question, and then I could turn it to Harrison. And here's also what can be called an elephant in the room that I'm just going to ask. But also, how can we get more diverse people into leadership in environmental organizations? I'll let that hang, and if anybody wants to have any ideas about that, if not. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I meant that you have expertise
Yeah.
in recruiting diverse backgrounds and cultures and whatnot.
Sure.
To come. So I apologize for all that.
Oh, no. I agree, and I'll just respond, and then I'm gonna let Harrison talk. But I think it's for a question about one. I say it's important for there to be some kind of leadership. I'm not saying but it's important to have some kind of representation at some place. But I think you're right. In order that to happen, it's very key that you get diverse people who can kind of connect and help find and support those people along the way. I'm going to turn it over to Harrison now.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. At this time, we'll take some questions from the audience, answer some more hard-hitting questions. If anyone has one, you can raise your hand. We'll go for Nicole first. Also, if you were on the virtual live stream audience, I think we have a couple dozen folks. You can also type in your question in the chat, and we will relay it to our panel right here. So, Nicole.
Thank you, Harrison. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Jackson. I'm going to be presenting the toolkit stuff at Spruce Run, so hopefully you can have some time to check that out, ask questions. I'm an environmental educator and birder. I graduated from the Ohio State University School of Environment and Natural Resources, mouthful, in 2011 on a quarter system, by the way. But also, I just had a question in regards to what you were referencing, Kwesi, about some of the missing pieces as far as like community and parents, but more so community. Have any of you had any experiences where a community member, similar to Kwesi in your interest in bringing education and the outdoors together, had any conversations with community members who were interested in engaging with the schools in regards to science education or nature and the outdoors within your work?
Any of you had any community? Yeah.
Well, right now I've had a community member and an angle or a specific professor at OSU approach me about a really amazing program around insects and how we can go further together in making this a big program up in Northeast Ohio and having it adopted more broadly. And this all came from a singular community member realizing that prairies do a lot for climate change. And so it was really dynamic to see that it all started with a community member and then started to reach out to these larger organizations about how can we make this matter right where my feet are, right where my boots are, and for the neighborhood that I serve and the community that I interact with every day. And so to be honest, that is the most invigorating way to get engaged and for us to put our heads together in a unique way and always having our boots touching the ground of where we want to see that benefit. So it's really great when someone reaches out and just kind of come to the table with true co-creation, not just collaboration. So.
Harrison, questions?
I guess I answer that question. That's what we do every day, is work with the community. You know, Columbus is a growing community. We are expecting anywhere from 500,000 to 800,000 more people living in Central Ohio in the next 20, 25 years. I'm amazed. So I've been with Metro Parks a while, even longer than Jill. And it's been interesting to see how our park system and our visitors have evolved. To think we used to be, all of our parks used to be around Interstate 270. We were very much a suburban park district. We now manage the greenway trails, and again, to the point of accessibility. You know, our stated goal, and we've accomplished that goal, is to have a metro park within 5 miles of every resident of Franklin County. So that diversity, I think we have it. We keep wanting more of that diversity. And I think you just identify with various groups in the community and what can you provide to meet their needs. And then you take that opportunity, because you have a captive audience, to kind of introduce other things. So that's a great question, and I think it's one of those things that, you know, we do every day. Clean, safe parks, places where people can go. They can educate themselves, they can recreate, they can revitalize themselves. But yeah, that's what we do, Nicole. It's every day.
Harrison.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Drake. I'm a science teacher at Northland. And I have a two-part question. First of all, the biggest elephant in the room is, how is science trickling down from the board? What kind of money are we going to be getting for science departments? Because if I hear another person say, we are all about reading and math, science is the boundary and the basics of reading. If you have not gone through how to do a scientific writing or reading, that's the basics. So the second part of my question is, all of these careers and all of these jobs and internships and programs, the main objective of our district is to prepare these students, but at the high school level, we drop them, because I have been trying to bring programs and companies into at a high school level so that these students can sit into the classroom and earn a seal, which is an alternative pathway if they don't happen to pass their science or whatever core subject they have. If they don't happen to pass that OST test, and they can't graduate unless they have gone through this alternative pathway, earned these seals. And that's where these outside agencies and the Metro Parks and everything, that's where we need to have the collaboration at a high school level. And I agree, PDs and Malyn has done an outstanding job at really foreseeing we need to have PDs that are only science high school, only middle school, only elementary, because every PD I've gone to, with the exception of last year, was, well, this is at a fourth grade level, but you can always bang it up to a high school level. So we want curriculum that starts at our main mission, which is to graduate these kids and to get them to understand the verbiage and vocabulary that are in all of the tests, not only the high school test, but that needs to start at the basic level. We have no scaffolding. Everything is always at a certain level. And high school, I mean, graduation, I have yet to have somebody come to me and say, hey, what kind of seals? There are 175 science environmental seals that these students can work on in the classroom, and none of them are recognized in our curriculum.
I wonder if, Malyn, if you're better able to address that or anything. Okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're, if Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It won't get
I will
out.
not stand. Okay. I think I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for a board or,
Yeah.
the government. But I can speak for myself. I think we have to make science a priority. And I think sometimes we feel like we're not important. And so we don't make it a priority, even in our own jobs sometimes. And I don't mean that everyone does it, but I think sometimes when you're told enough you're not important, you just start acting like that. So I think my message is that science is important. Teaching it is important. It's fun. It's also like 70% of our future jobs are going to be scientific based. So like we're really doing we're not doing our children right by not teaching them the skills that are going to be required for them to do in their future jobs. Because I guarantee you, when we were younglings, half the jobs didn't even exist that are now available to them. So I think for me personally, to answer that question, Michelle, and I have a funny story to tell you after this, but we have to feel important, we have to believe we're important, and we have to tell our students it's important. We have to be our own advocates, and that's like where I'm trying really hard, is just making our written curriculum more diverse, more equitable, and more experiential, because we haven't prioritized it enough, personally. And I'm not digging at anybody who's done this job before. This is a really hard job. Like, really advocating for something that's not being advocated for is hard. We know that. And so we don't do it right the first time. We won't do it right the second time. You just have to keep trying. If it fails, that's fine. That's science, right? Fail, try it again, do something different, try it again. And so I feel like I failed a lot this year. I feel like I've also won a lot this year. I think we just don't do yourself discredit by saying, well, it didn't work, so I'm just not going to do it, right? Like, just try something different and lean on each other. And that's kind of why I like these communities a little bit, is because we all kind of have the same suffering a little bit. Like, well, nobody thinks we're important. And so let's make it loud and clear that we are, and we can change like the direction of education just by one content. That's all I have to say.
Harrison, you have?
Yeah, we have time for one more question from the audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Winslow. I work with the School of Environment and Natural Resources as their Assistant Director for Outreach. But one question I had, we talk about a lot of the barriers for our students to access these different resources and things. As someone who's sitting at the university level, how do we better come to you as educators? What are the barriers that, as educators, you wear 3,000 hats? And so how do we make ourselves more available, or what can we do to help you? So for our educators maybe that are...
There's a lot that is vying for our time as educators. Mandates that come from the state, mandates that come from our districts, and then finding teachers that are passionate enough to want to try something new, and not just teach to the test, and can see that there is value in this experiential learning, and there is value in more to just teaching to the tests. So I think just continue to do what you're doing, just keep throwing it out there. Honestly, and this sounds shallow, but money talks. And so when you've got some stipends or you've got some grant money that you can throw kits and things at us, it makes it so much easier, because, we want to be valued as well. And, our time in the summer is valuable, and we can make choices of where we go and what we do. And so even if you're just saying, hey, for $50, even if it's a $50 Amazon card, then I'm like, okay, I can get a lot with $50 on Amazon for my classroom. So I think value their time and what they need, and it's always about the test, always about the test. And yeah, the test is important. I get it, but it's so much more than that, and we're tired of the test. Kathy Holmes isn't here. We're tired of the test. And I've been doing this for a long time, and we just want what's right for kids. And And I think, and you can just keep saying, this is what's right for kids. This is what's right for kids. And I think teachers will go, yeah, I agree. That's what's right for kids. Let's get kids outside. Let's get kids to see that they can value things right in their neighborhood. And I really appreciate your program of, hey, look at nature right in your own backyard. I mean, because like you said, we know pandas need help, but so do the eagles right here, right? So.
Great. Well, I just want to give a concluding remark, and I want to do it because I think Harrison wouldn't do it. Can we give him a hand and all the EPN staff for just doing this and coming up? And finally, I want to say that this event may be more important than you realize. I say that because my wife and I just went to South Carolina State Park in Myrtle Beach. We have a time, somebody knows about that. So we have a timeshare, so every year we go down to Myrtle Beach, and now I have a mindset. If I go somewhere, I want to go to a park. I want a state park. I want to see. And then I talked to this lady. Her name is Ann Wilson. She's an interpretive ranger, and when I talked to her about the program we were having at Ohio State to talk about how we're going to talk about all kids learning about careers, she was standing up and she sat down. You said all kids? I said all kids. She said, we don't do that here. We're trying to talk to people about Clemson about doing it. And I said, well, the people at Ohio State, we're doing it. And it reminded me, I said, if you want to follow someone, remember, Ohio State beat Clemson in the Sugar Bowl, so we're going to beat you. I say all that to say, she said, come back next year and tell me what you found out. We're eager to find. We have the largest school district in the state, Ohio State, Metro Parks. Folks, if we can do it, it can be done. And so I'm just so encouraged that we came together, but even more so, I'm looking forward, gang, to what we're going to do after this. Thank you.
And as a token of our thanks to all of our amazing speakers and panelists, including our panelists and speakers this afternoon, and we hope you'll join us on the buses momentarily, we have certificates of our appreciation. So if our speakers will join me to the side of the stage, I'll hand you those. At the same time, if Brenda Metcalf wants to join us on the podium to overview ECO, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Yay, Brenda.
Okay. Okay, there should be words on that slide, so let me fill you in on what's not on the slide. Let me go back here. All right, so I'm with the Environmental Education Council of Ohio, which is EECO for short. If you've heard of EECO, please raise your hand. Right, all right, sweet. So the reason why I say that is I feel as EECO's been the best kept secret for almost 60 years. And we are the Environmental Education Council of Ohio. We are a nonprofit 501c3 that has primarily done professional development, so teacher workshops, conferences, that kind of thing. But we also are so much more. Who I am, my name is Brenda Metcalf. I'm the executive director, and I've been lucky enough to be the executive director for 23 years with EECO, and I've been in environmental education for 35 years. And this is the point where you go, no way, you look so young. Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, been doing this a really long time, and I feel like I need a box, but okay. So I'm vertically challenged, and I'm old, so there we are. So what EECO is, in a nutshell, again, we do professional development. These are some of our upcoming events. Our events are kind of like this atmosphere that we have here right now. So we do teacher workshops and conferences, and it's a great networking opportunity. We bring the professionals, the non-formal educators, the formal educators, everybody into one room, and we learn from each other. And I will tell you, the world of environmental education, they're the best people at giving items away for free. They are the best at sharing. Every one of them, their report card says, share well with others. It also says talks excessively, but shares well with others. So that's where environmental educators really do shine. A couple of our events that we've got coming up are ridiculously cost effective. So our 101 conference, which is October 4th, it's our 50th anniversary of that conference. It is $40, and that includes lodging and meals. You can't go to any other conference in Ohio for $40 and get food and lodging. So it's a pretty impressive conference. We also have our call for proposals out for our winter conference and our spring conference. Our winter conference, again, is also extremely cost effective. It's up in northeastern Ohio, pretty close to Mohican State Park. It's at a facility called Haab, and it's at their Hemlock campus. It's a great opportunity. If you've ever wanted to present, we are the fun people that you want to go to that conference to present, because again, we're fun and we share well with others. We have a partnership with Ohio EPA, the Office of Environmental Education, and we also have a partnership with the Division of Wildlife at ODNR. Those two partnerships help us to be able to do statewide programming and have a regional structure that without that funding we would not be able to do. So with our OEF money, we have an enormous career program where we are connecting students with environmental careers. I'll show you a little bit about that here in a minute. And then also because of our Division of Wildlife, we can expand that career program and add so much more. Some of our resources that we have are, all of our resources that are on our website are free. So we do have some DEI resources that are incredible. We actually have had universities contact us and say, can we just have your whole page? Yes. You can have the resources from the whole page. It's totally free. Some other ones that we have are our climate education resources. They're really, really great. Now, let's say you get on our website and you're looking for a specific resource that you can't find. Reach out to me because I can find it. I'm lucky enough to have not only connections throughout Ohio, but truly connections across the globe. We are part of what's called the North American Association for Environmental Education, and I guarantee you somebody out there is working on it. So reach out, don't recreate the wheel, we will help you find it. The one program that I was talking about that we work with the Division of Wildlife on is our Student Wildlife Research Symposium. This is a completely student-presented professional environment symposium. The students are the presenters. They may be standing up in front of a podium like I am right now, talking to a very large group. They may be doing a classroom presentation and a concurrent session, or they may be doing a poster session. Last year, we had almost 80 high school students presenting on their research. It was really awesome. Now, some of the students come as a first-time moment where they're not really sure what they're doing, and it's just a learning experience. We have some students who've been coming for 4 years. So there is a lot of variety there. Now, Jim Redding, who's sitting out there, and I'm going to call on Jim, and I know he's keeping his head down. Jim has come to the Student Wildlife Research Symposium in the past with his students, and I know that it's an opportunity that is, I can't say enough about it. It's inspiring. Would you agree, Jim? Yes. Sorry, I totally had to put him on the spot. Jim, if you haven't met, meet him. He's the biggest rock star science teacher on the planet. Okay, so another thing that we do because of our funding we have from the Office of Environmental Education is we have this incredible STEM career program. So the picture of this woman here, Jade, she's a wildlife officer, and her particular video, it's over 100,000 hits that we've had on this video. It's an interview with our intern talking to her about her career pathway. So what's really awesome about this career program, not only are these professionals willing to do an interview and talk about their career pathway, but they're willing to take it a step further. So if you go onto our website, you click on Jade's name, you will see her video chat. It's really cool. And yeah, she's pretty amazing because she gets to carry weaponry. They don't let me carry weaponry. But anyway, so very, very cool. And then on top of that, her contact information's right there. So if you're a classroom teacher and you want your students to know more about her, you just contact her and she can maybe come to your classroom if she can fit it into her ridiculously busy schedule. But most likely she can for sure find a way to do a Zoom with your students. So it is very cool. And all of these professionals, we have over 50 free videos. And then we have almost 500 environmental professionals around the state who are willing to talk to your students about their career pathway. So again, you can't see it, but that's me. So that's my contact information. That goes to our website. Again, we are a great networking opportunity. And if at any time we can help connect the dots between your students and an environmental career or any kind of educational resource, because again, we do work with all the curricula like Project Wild, Learning Tree, Project WET, which are already aligned to academic content standards. And actually at our winter conference, you can become a Project WET facilitator if you attend that conference. So we offer so many wonderful resources, so please reach out if we can help you. And I'm handing it over to Harrison because I do not have the instructions. Thank you.
All right, everybody, the moment we've all been waiting for, we're going to go to Spruce Run. The buses will be parked outside. If you're not in it, in 2 minutes, it's going to leave. You're not going to get your stipend. Not actually. The buses are going to leave here at around 12:30, 5:40, once we get everyone on board. We hope that you will join us at Spruce Run. We're really excited about the afternoon. You just heard about Projects WET, Wild, and Learning Tree. All three of them will be there in the afternoon. Heather Allen, who is the coordinator of Spruce Run, will be showing people around the 50-acre facility. We'll have a variety of other activities, including a networking session that Callie Borer over here will be leading. So at the conclusion of my remarks, all speakers, please join me right here. We're going to take a quick picture. And then everyone else, this is a great chance to fill up your water bottles, do everything else you need to do before you get on the bus. We're going to head over to Spruce Run. There are bathrooms at the facility. A couple of other notes. If you look down at your name tag, you'll see a sticker. If it's green or blue, please be on the first bus. If it is yellow or red, you'll be on the second bus. The color of your sticker, which has a number inside of it, corresponds to the group that you'll be put in for the afternoon activities. So we hope that you'll join us at Spruce Run. That's the end of our morning session. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for inspiring us along the way, and we'll see you this afternoon.